Welcome back to the Self-Esteem and Confidence Mindset podcast with me, Johnny Pardo. Today, I welcome Hilary to the show where we're going to be talking about self-confidence, motherhood, and many, many more things. So Hilary is a wife and busy mum of 3 boys who helps other mums transform their mindsets around motherhood while empowering them to find their true identity, while also committing to setting and sticking goals for themselves, taking mamas off the hot mess express so they can enjoy that ride that is motherhood. So welcome to the show, Hilary. Glad to have you here and make this conversation happen. So yeah, tell us a little bit about your story and actually why you're so passionate into helping other mums out there transform their mindsets and really allowing them to enjoy that motherhood.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for having me. It's truly an honor. Love your show. Yeah. So I guess for me, as a young girl, I never wanted to have kids. I thought, you have to choose, your career or motherhood. And I saw moms, my own too, who, she wanted that career and she was a single mom for a long time. And it was a struggle. I felt very lonely as a kid. So once I got to a place where I actually realized I did want a family, those societal hurdles of choosing where your time goes and having to climb a corporate ladder, but also be home to cook dinner. And, so it was really a hard thing for me. And a lot of my childhood, my own traumas, they come back to you. And I really struggled with getting over the past. And it was giving me such a hard time in my motherhood, because I was becoming the kind of person I knew I didn't want to be, but I didn't know how to get out. So when I finally kind of started on my own journey, I realized this is my soft spot. Moms is exactly where I want to be, because I think we have so much more power than we realize. We're really structuring a generation with our love. We're with a child before anyone else ever sees them, before anyone else even knows they exist, and there's so much power in all of that and the biology of it. But there's also so much power in just realizing, yeah, I went through some stuff, and yeah, life handed me some cards, but now I can impact the next generation. I can be different. And I think a lot of people sometimes choose not to have kids now because they don't want to be like their parents. They don't think they're equipped. And it's just amazing what a little bit of empowerment, a little bit of, the right tools, maybe the right people, what all that can really do for you. So that's kind of become my mission. And I'm transitioning a little bit more into the health space, because that's really a big passion of mine. But it all links together. You start changing your life with your mindset, everything else will follow. So that's really where I'm at. And my story is so much deeper. All of ours are, but I've really just learned to accept the past and kind of use it as my motivation and my kids. And I just want to help other mamas do that too, because it can be, I think it's kind of labeled the hot mess express mom. It's kind of given some negative connotations. It's kind of given this misery label, oh, you're drowning in motherhood. We're surviving on caffeine, and woe is me. It doesn't always have to be like that. Yeah, some days are like that. Some days are shit, but doesn't always have to feel like that. And there's a lot of things I think that society and, all kinds of things come into play to kind of switch your mind into thinking, oh, well, motherhood is, got to give up this so I can have this, or got to think this way, or this is it. So I really want to change that for moms. I really want to show them that they can have it all. They can do it all. They might have to get creative. They might have to do a few trial and errors, and it might take some time. Maybe it won't happen. And, it's not a magic pill. There's no magic pill to any of this, whether you're a mom or not. If you want to change your life, it's hard work. If you want to make something work for yourself, it's going to be, give and take.
Mm-hmm. Oh, thanks for your story and a little bit into. I can see your passion, obviously, behind this
Yes.
whole side, and yeah, obviously not being a mum myself. It's useful to hear that point of view, or even have kids myself. It's really useful to hear that point of view. But I know there's gonna be listeners out there who perhaps are in a position, even if it's not being a mum, where they want to feel a bit more empowered, and maybe there's a label that they've attached themselves that they've heard in society or something like that. You said the hot mama express, that one kind of being mentioned. So if we were, and you talk about empowerment of as well, so if we were to like, perhaps you've got that mum out there or individual out there who's stuck with maybe some of these societal labels in them and they feel a bit stuck. Is there any kind of like initial first steps they can just take for themselves to feel a little bit more empowered in their life?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think both of us, whether you're a mom or not, like we've each experienced just the power of awareness, right? Like you start
Mm.
to see something that's happening in your life or that, you're thinking of, and it's just not fulfilling, it's not serving you. So I think when you can ask yourself, like for me, it kind of happened in 2020 where I found myself in all these Facebook groups where it was like, mommy wine time, and we're complaining about our kids all day because we're stuck with our kids all day. Well, that is what motherhood used to look like. And so how do we get out of that? And I just kept asking myself, like, oh my God, like, how is this serving me now? Like, this is holding me back. So I think that initial awareness, are you in a happy space? Like, are you surrounded by things that make you feel empowered? Because you can change your environment a lot of the time. I know sometimes, especially like as a mom, your kid, like you can't really change that, but can you give yourself something to look forward to? Can you bring in a piece of joy? Bring something in that kind of reminds you why you're doing what you're doing anyway. So that awareness, the joy, like it can be pockets of time, right? Like, and sometimes that's all you get as a mom is a small pocket of time. And that sometimes requires asking for help, reaching out to grandparents, reaching out to friends, or, letting your kids do something that maybe you wouldn't normally say yes to, just so that way they can get a little bit experience and happiness, and so can you. Like sometimes the kids just play in the backyard and I'm on the other side of the window and I'm just in quiet, like, and I'm just watching and I'm just, okay, peace in the house, thank God. Like, a little less stimulation.
And do you find I've had a recent conversation with a podcast guest about this and about just kind of be interested to hear your view, particularly with like obviously 3 kids um and a busy life with that. Have you found like any benefit to kind of just being in silence with yourself? Because obviously we live in a world where there's information coming at us like left, right, and center.
Absolutely. I mean, I think overstimulation, like kind of going back to that, is such a big thing for moms, especially because a lot of us are working. So if we're working during the day and your kids are at school or they're at a babysitter, or maybe you're able to contain them in some other way for a couple of hours while you work, then all of a sudden, it's time to cook dinner and everyone's running through the house and it's chaos sometimes. You have that overstimulation. So then if you're picking up your phone and you're scrolling through social media, and that oftentimes makes us feel worse as moms, as humans in general, I think,
Yeah.
you're not giving yourself a break. So where can you find a break at? So I think it's super important to just kind of disconnect and sit with yourself. And it's okay to be bored. Like it's totally fine to be bored. And it's also not scary. It's not as scary as people think it is to be with your own thoughts. Like if something's coming up for you and you're trying to sit in silence and you feel yourself wanting to pull away from it, oh, I have to be busy. That's probably a sign that that's the exact thing you need to put some effort and energy into.
Mm.
So, and I know for moms and probably dads a lot of times too. I mean, my husband's a very busy dad. He's very involved with our kids. It is really hard to make that time for yourself, but it can literally be the time you spend in the bathroom, right? Like taking a shower. Give yourself an extra 5 to 10 minutes. Like you probably need it for a little bit of self-care anyway, or yeah, let your kids play out back, watch them through the window and just sit, just sit in as much silence as possible. Or the car ride, if you're dropping them off at the sitter or at school on your way back, don't listen to the radio. Just decompress and enjoy that moment because it does matter. Absolutely.
Some good little tips there on how to find those nuggets of time as well. Because
Yeah.
yeah, and most of the time we're quite on like autopilot mode as certainly people I've worked with and acknowledging and watching myself. I'm always going to be on autopilot mode because our brain can't, it can't think about everything, of course. So yeah, I think it comes back to what you shared earlier about awareness as well.
Yeah.
So being aware of actually what am I doing right now, and how can I make more time for myself? Like you said, maybe in the shower, maybe you're driving as well.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Super super good points there. So with your like obviously lots of responsibilities for you with time management, let's talk about time management because we live in a world where everyone's busy, you know, like we've all got different situations, but everyone's busy. So, you know, do you like proactively try and manage your time? Do you map out your week? How do you go about with time management?
Yeah. So before baby number 3 came in April, it was a lot of mapping out the entire week. And it was a little bit easier because I had a 6-year-old and a 3-year-old, and, our lives were very consistent day to day. Now that the infant is here, and he's a whole nother piece of the puzzle, it kind of changes day to day. My husband and I, we usually have like a little meeting in there somewhere where we're like, hey, what's your tomorrow look like? I have this going on, like, so that way I could join you today. He's upstairs with the baby, and the toddler is with the sitter. So where are we able to map out our day so that way we can really design that time, whether it's an hour or a full day, we can design it how we need to, so that way we can get a few things done, because maybe tomorrow isn't as productive. And I think that's a really big thing for moms is and parents in general, is we kind of have this definition of productive as like, how many things can I check off my list? Well,
Mm.
sometimes as a mom, being productive is spending as much time with my kids as possible that day. It's getting them fed, wiping their butts. That's productive some days. And it doesn't always look like getting all of the housework done. It doesn't always look like getting a full day worth of work done for my business. It changes. But I have to be flexible with the definition, right? But then also, where can I habit stack? Like, that's been one of my most powerful
Mm.
things for myself. I really like getting up before the kids when I'm able to. So right now with our schedule with feeding, the baby's usually up around like 4:30. So I'll feed him, he goes back to bed, and I stay up most of the time, not always, because sometimes I'm just like, I'm tired, I'm going back to bed. And I'm not going to beat myself up over that. So I'll come down and maybe I will unload the dishwasher while I'm kind of sipping on my coffee. And then I have that room to now sit, enjoy a book, maybe I'll journal, and I'll just kind of do something for myself in that time. And it's quiet, the house is quiet. Sometimes my husband gets up and we can enjoy a few minutes together before he's off for his day or whatever he's got going on. So, and maybe not everyone's life looks like that, but where can you fit a few more extra things in if that's going to be what fulfills you and what feels productive for you? So mine is sometimes in the morning, but maybe someone else's is in the evening after bedtime. Put the kids to bed. Don't turn that freaking TV on. Don't sit and Netflix and chill, or Netflix and chill with a basket of laundry, like do something at the same time. So that way tomorrow you're not looking down the barrel at like all of the things that are piling up, because living in parenthood is kind of like being in a manufacturing role. The work is never done. Something is always coming back. The laundry is always coming back. There's something down the line coming. So what can you do like in this moment that will kind of help you? And a lot of times there's something small that we can do, prepping dinner, the night before. What does that look like for you? Or meal planning at all. So that way you can do a crock pot meal or a sheet pan meal, something really simple as a mom, but you can still have a baby with you, or you can, be going over homework or whatever the case is. So habit stacking is absolutely one of my favorite things. It doesn't have to be the same habit, but just think about, where's an opportunity for me? What's something else I could maybe pull into this moment? Um, and then just really being, I think, very, very cognizant of where you're putting your time when you do get your own time. Like, this thing is not going to be your answer for getting me time. And maybe some people need that. Maybe they need their phone to feel like, okay, I can decompress, I can scroll. If you need it and that makes you feel happy, do it then. But could you do it in a little bit less time, so that way you can still go take your shower, do your nighttime routine? I feel like moms are constantly like, I don't even have time to do my skincare routine. I'm not taking care of myself. Okay, well, what can you fit in, to the time that you're given? I'm sure a lot of us can look at our phones right now and tell you how much time we spend on them and be like, oh, I could probably shave just a little bit off there to give myself back every week. All
Mm.
of us, even me as a mom of 3, I can definitely be on my
Oh
phone
yeah.
less.
We all can. Like,
Yeah.
look at our screen time. It's horrendous.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awful.
Yeah. Love. Yeah. No. Yeah. I'm a big fan of the habit stacking. I think I remember coming across it in Atomic Habits by James Clear. That was the first time I came across that term, and it just made a lot of sense to me. Like adding things together,
Yeah.
And then Tony Robbins, who I've done a lot of his events, including a live one actually coming up in the UK next month. But
Oh, that's awesome.
yeah, he's a big fan of NET, no extra time. And it's
Yeah.
this probably is more to like learning and things like that. But it's like, if you don't have time to read, could you be listening to an audiobook or a podcast? Like,
Yeah.
obviously with Confidence Mindset or another, any kind of podcast or audiobook out there.
I
On the
listen to
go.
Confidence Mindset podcast when I'm doing the dishes. That's when I'm able to cram you in there. I'm
Like
always
it.
listening to Johnny when I'm doing the dishes, folding clothes. Always got one of these in. So
Cool. Awesome.
it's
And
doable.
yes, so you can sort of like but in general, the habit stacking is a fantastic opportunity to leverage the most time.
Yeah.
And yeah, sounds like you're very aware of that as well. And I want to kind of trail on to making time for yourself and touch on that a little bit more, because maybe not necessarily just to the mum situation, but for like human beings who are caring for other human beings, which
Yeah.
but all of us do at some point in our lives. Obviously, there are exceptions, and not everyone's like that. But most in our network, obviously, everyone is. But like, a lot of us look out for other people, and we're like, give, 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 give. Got to look after them, especially I'd imagine in parenthood as well. Can you talk a little bit about the importance? And I know this is a bit of a cliche personal growth one, but I really want to touch on it, about the importance of actually caring for you and actually the impact of not doing that and what that might do for others that you're trying to look after.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I think a lot of us have probably seen, like, the first thing that comes in my mind is that meme where it's like, the cup filling up and it's like you're pouring, and we all know, like, you can't pour from an empty cup, but it's so hard to put it into play. It really is. I'm someone, motherhood or not, I don't ask for help. Like, I did not ask for help. I wouldn't even use like pain medication because I would just be so stubborn as to like, no, I don't need any help. Don't help me. And it kind of comes down to a few things for me in my experience. And one is, we have boundaries for a reason, and they're not for other people. They're for us. They're for our safety. So if you're caring for somebody else or you're constantly giving, you aren't caring for yourself at all. You don't have a boundary for yourself. What's going to save you? Because no one else is going to do it except for you, and whether people do it maliciously or not, I think most people don't. But the more that you say yes to somebody or something, they're going to continue to take. The better you perform at work, guess what? Your boss is going to expect even greater things from you now because you've already proven that you can do it. So when you do that to human beings, again, doesn't have to be malicious, but they're going to continue to expect those things from you. So when you can create a boundary for yourself to keep yourself safe, you're saying, I'm important. I'm just as important as they are. You don't have to be more important if you're not ready for that yet. But, why don't you deserve an hour of time? Why don't you deserve a day off? My dad is kind of going through this actually right now. So we lost my grandmother in January, and he's been taking care of his dad. He has dementia. He's got all kinds of illnesses. And my dad works, like, I'm not kidding you, like 60 to 80 hours a week sometimes. It just depends. And then he travels an hour and a half south to take care of my grandfather all weekend, comes back home and does it again. And I'm like, Dad, you've got, like, I'll come help. Like, let me come help on the weekend. Like, the baby's here. We're kind of getting well, I'm still going to be there. I'm still going to go. He doesn't know how to cut that off and give a boundary, but it's also because of fear. He's so afraid he's going to miss something with his dad, and because of the illness and because of what it's taking away and stuff, and because of what he's already went through with his mom, he's so afraid to lose anything else that he's going to kill himself trying to take care of somebody else who has family around, who could, have some extra help here and there. So, and he'll say no to other people because he feels like that is his responsibility. And I think it's okay sometimes if we're like, yes, I'm going to take that on for myself. Is it technically my responsibility? Not really, not in all actuality. But if I'm going to take it on, I also have to give a little bit back for me. Like, because you can't just give and give and give. You have to have some room for yourself. And that's motherhood. That's just humans in general. Like, you can't, like, you work full time, you do your awesome podcast, you're doing all these awesome events for yourself. And maybe that's how you give back to you, is you do those things for yourself. But, I'm sure sometimes you felt like, I'm pouring from this cup and it's empty now. Like, what the hell? Like, and I think that happens to all of us. And you just have to remind yourself, at the end of the day, what's the one thing I'm leaving this earth with? Like, I mean, I love my children, but I don't know. I mean, when I go, like, this is it. This is what I came in with. This is what I'm leaving with. This is I'm the only person I'm going to have for my entire life that I can count on, that I have to take care of, like, no matter what. And what am I doing if I'm not doing any kind of service to myself? How do I give back if I'm not doing anything for me? You can't. You can't just run on E your whole life. You really can't.
Yeah, I'm glad you explained that so well, or kind of express your, what you've been doing with that, and thanks for sharing the story of your own family and the situation with that. I think it's quite, again, I feel that's like quite a good, one of the powers of, I know we're in the network with coaches, that's quite a good, the power of coaching as well, with like you've got someone else perhaps seeing what's going on inside, well, seeing what's going on with you, rather than you just being on that busy mode.
Yeah.
Don't know if you found that effective with sort of like coaching as well. I certainly have, when I'm able to, just people are able to slow me down or something like that. It's really helped.
Yeah, absolutely.
No. So kind of a couple of things to touch on, really. I wanted to, before we sort of close today, touch on overwhelm a little bit more. I know we've had aspects of that in our conversation so far. Like, if someone's like so overwhelmed, and everyone's got different views on this, so overwhelmed with so much to do, where would you guide them to start, whether it is motherhood or not?
There's a couple different places, and one place kind of goes back to a little bit of time management. And I think that we are all busy, every single one of us, whether you're a mom or not. I have friends who they'll be like, well, I'm busy, but I'm not as busy as you. And I'm like, we're all busy. Life is hectic. Life can be crazy. I think prioritizing and doing it in a way where it's like you get it all out of your head, you write it down on a paper, and then what really actually has to stay. What actually has to get done right now. I'm a big fan of the big three list. I've been doing it for years and years and years. When I worked in pharmaceuticals, getting anything done, that was how I started my day, my big three. So, write out the three biggest priorities you have to do today, and start with the biggest one, because when you knock that one out, like, that's going to feel the most relief. It's going to give you the most relief, and then you can kind of carry on with the rest of your day. But then also the other side of that is, for me, I really found, especially coming into motherhood with three kids, which I will be honest is a totally different ballgame. Overwhelm is kind of a state of mind for me, because if I'm like in my head and I'm like, oh, I have to do this kid is crying, this kid is asking me questions, this kid is attached to my nipple right now, like, what the heck is going on? Like, I have to like slow down inside first. I have to stop a little bit, because first of all, my kids are going to be running on the same energy I am. So, and I think that applies to everybody. If you go into your office, or you go into school, or wherever you're going, and you're kind of hyped up like that, your energy is going out onto other people too. And they're going to feel that, and they can join you, or they can be like, nah, hell with you. Like, I'm going this way. But if I get my kids hyped up on that energy level, then we're all just in chaos, and it feels even worse. So me as the mom, it's my job, I feel, to kind of, okay, let's bring us back to reality. What do I actually have to do? Okay, this one's fine. He's eating. This one is crying. Okay, I'll kiss that boo-boo real quick. This one's older. I can, I delegate. And I just, what do I absolutely have to do right now, right this minute? Everything else is just thoughts, right? It's all just me nagging at myself, telling myself what I need to get done, when really I can decide a lot of times. So for me, it's thinking about the state of mind I'm in. Am I doing this to myself? Am I raising my own heart rate and blood pressure? And am I stressing myself out? Okay, let's come back down from that. And then the other side is, well, what do I actually have to get done today? And I try to prioritize that. And again, sometimes I have to fit those into those windows of time where I've created those moments for myself in the morning before the kids are awake, or at night before they're asleep, or after they're asleep. So it's really kind of bringing the two together, the physical and the mental aspect of it for me.
I like what you said about slowing down inside yourself as well, especially when we get into the rhythm of the day. So
yeah,
something that, sometimes I still have to remind myself of, as it's work in progress, but yeah, good bit of guidance there. So Hilary, really appreciate you coming on today and sharing everything. I certainly have taken quite a few notes and benefited from what you've shared, so thank you. Just before we sort of wrap up, is there a final point that maybe you'd like to share with us? And also, where can the listener find more from you or about your work if they'd like to?
Yeah, so I'm on Instagram and TikTok at hillary.butcher. I'm also on LinkedIn, just Hillary Butcher. And then on Instagram, I have a link up that, I have like this awesome toolkit I'm kind of bringing in that's kind of more of like a membership where I just keep adding stuff to it. All these great little nuggets and tools that moms can use. So there's a link in my bio on Instagram there. Again, the handle is at hillary.butcher. But yeah, I mean, this is something I'm so passionate about. So if there's anyone, a mom that I can help, even my DMs are open really. Because it's tough and we live in a society that is not very we're not community based anymore like we used to be, like, back in the days of, just that feeling of like a tribal community. So that's kind of what I want to give back to moms, is like a place that they're safe with and they can grow and they're not alone. And then also the tools so that way they can really just enhance their own lives.
Love it. Well, thank you, Hilary. Once again for coming on today and sharing everything. I'll be sure to link all that below.
Thank you so much, Johnny.
Awesome. So that concludes our episode for today. And remember, you are in control of your own self-esteem and confidence.